Going over, Laura, this decision to call Stormy Daniels, I guess, strip club tour, the Make America Horny Again tour. I'm searching, and you guys can help me out. I mean, how does this damage Stormy Daniels?
Well, first of all, in my mind,
we've been listening to this for the last 10 minutes or so. It almost seems as though she's kind of washed away the damage that might have been done to her on Tuesday when people were saying, "Oh, she hates Donald Trump," and so on. She comes across as perhaps the most authentic person in this trial.
They're also going on to talk about a photo where he saw her live. You can too. If all of this is true, they are actually building the case for the prosecution. Let me go to my tablet for a second, please, everyone, because here is why, right? You've got this timeline at play here. The only thing that matters is this date. When the Access Hollywood tape came in, I'll use yellow and said October 7th. When she was paid, October 27th, right? Then Election Day. That is what matters here. Nothing else. I was not selling myself to anyone. She said I was performing at clubs and whoever wanted to pay admission. If everything is true and that she is in fact somebody who is trying to shake him down, somebody who wanted money from Donald Trump,
the client at the club's absolutely changed.
Who would stop at nothing to get the money or have this story come out, well, guess what? That paints the picture of somebody who is incentivized, who's running for president and says, I got to pay this person so that it doesn't come out before the election. So every time they look at why she's perhaps in their mind somebody who is going to try to get the money, they are making the case for the prosecution on that. And by the way, I don't subscribe to the idea that they are going to be successful to suggest that every juror is looking down their nose at Stormy Daniels and suggesting, oh, she's a porn star. Well, therefore, I'm going to think about her less. She's a stripper in some ways. I'm not going to think about her. Look at yourself, okay, well, there's a man who paid her.
Right. Ellie, is this a good job? I mean, is this a good idea to keep reminding the jury she's a stripper? I mean, yeah, we know that.
The cross-examination is now officially meandering, right? They're directionless. In contrast to Tuesday, where it was very direct. It was, you hate Donald Trump. Yes, I do. You think it's great and funny that he might go to jail. Yes, I do. Right? You made flatly inconsistent statements with what you just testified to. Yes, but they were false. Now we're into the weeds of why the agreement, what her motivation was. She made money. What I would have done here, instead of the whole 45 minutes that they've spent, I would have said, you made a lot of money off this, right? Yep. You got an $800,000 book advance, right? Yes. You made $130,000 through the hush money payment, right? You made close to $1 million. It just goes to her motive. But this is now drifting, in my view, and it's ineffective as a result.
I think it's worse than meandering and drifting. I think the cross is now hurting the defense because when we were, off the air a few minutes ago, we took a poll of the 5 women who are on this panel, and I think
very scientific poll.
Yeah, very scientific poll. It was, however, 100%, which doesn't happen in polls often. But
in fairness, we are a certain segment of the population, but I'll let you continue.
The outcome of the poll was that the 5 of us all thought that she was a good witness, someone that we like, that we find likable and credible.
As a witness.
As a witness. As a witness.
Because she's not trying. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I'm sure it infuriates Donald Trump that this woman, who he is essentially trying to slut shame up there, right? Sort of turn her into a nasty woman. He is infuriated by the fact that she is up there.
Because he wants to do that.
That's what he wants to do. That is why I think the lawyers, I think, Laura, you would agree with this, the lawyers are sort of doing that as
prosecution objects.
At his
Machado
behest.
overrules, allowing Daniels to answer. This was about Daniels being asked whether she had an affair with one of the documentary producers. Getting to your point, that there's some slut shaming.
Yeah, and she cannot be shamed, right? I mean, she is in the adult film business, and she's fine with it. And I think you see Donald Trump, I think he was cursing yesterday, and you can see, I think, that it is his motivation to really shame this woman, and it's not working.
And she walked in and said, when he asked her, how do you want to be addressed? She said, Stormy Daniels. That she owned it from the very inception of the direct examination. This is who I am. And you know what? Why shouldn't she? She talks about it, and when what's gone on, again, she has not professed to be in love with him. She is saying this was a transactional notion. She wants the money. But you know what? Who believed her? Michael Cohen and Donald Trump. They paid her the money. They believed that she, in fact, would expose this story and harm his ability to become the president of the United States. If you're going to tell the jury, why should you believe her when they paid her and did believe her?
Yeah, Karen, I mean, is this the danger of performing for the audience of one instead of the jury.
Exactly. That's
true audience.
exactly what Judge Kiesel was saying.
Yeah.
Is it's really not about the defendant. You got to respect your lawyers. These are good lawyers, and you should really listen to them, because really what they're doing here by going after her in this way is they're showing her authenticity. Again, just like Laura said, she's not hiding who she is. She is leaning into who she is. She's being called Stormy Daniels. She is talking about all the things that she does and doesn't do. And by going and doing this cross-examination, in some ways, I think it can backfire, because they're going to feel sorry for her. She owes this billionaire $500,000. Look what he's done to her life. I mean, in some ways, yes, she made some money, but also her lawyer, Michael Avenatti, he's in prison for stealing from her. And so this is who she is and what has happened to her. So I would be
look at
careful.
this.
You know, at one point, Daniels tells Trump's attorney, "You're trying to trick me into saying something that's not entirely true." She is not intimidated by any
She's
of
holding her own.
Yeah.
She is
Yeah.
a scrappy, smart. That's the one thing about her background.
Yeah.
She was very, very smart.
She sees this as maybe the role of a lifetime here, so to speak.
Well, I mean, look, I don't know that I even want to ascribe that to her, because I think you are picking up on how much she in many ways didn't want to be in this situation, but she tried to take what it was and make something of it to the extent she could for her. I mean, I think anyone who has been in a situation like this with Donald Trump going after them in this way knows that it can be a very trying reality, right? And you're seeing, and the thing that the judge was saying earlier that was so interesting to me was this idea that it's now the client that is like causing all of this.
And Nicholas asking Daniels if she said she'd be instrumental in putting Trump in jail. Daniels asked to be shown where she said that.
And you know, so I mean, when you have an effective cross, the only answer you want out of your witness is yes. You want. Remember when Hope Hicks was on the stand, and you had, Emile Beauvais, and he would say at the end of every single question, right, correct, leading her to say yes, correct. Yes, correct. Because the whole point of the cross is for you to narrate what you want the jury to hear. You can lead, it's unlike direct examination. You have right here Daniel saying, she's showing a tweet saying exactly, making me the best person to flush the orange turd down. Well, okay, she's talking about Donald Trump there. It doesn't make her sound like she's going to be the person you're going to invite to do face painting at your kids' parties. It doesn't matter though.
But
It
again,
doesn't matter.
But think about all the things, the crazy bat blank things that Donald Trump has tweeted over the years. How
About
does this
her.
help?
Yeah.
About Stormy Daniels, calling her horse face and so on. How does this help the defense?
Well,
attacking her in this fashion, it seems like it's elevating her.
But look at what
And
she's
Daniels, I don't see instrumental or jail anywhere in that. You're putting words in my mouth.
Yeah, she's holding her
smart.
own
She
on the
is,
stand against these defense attorneys, and the jury is going to see that, and they're going to notice.
Let's
Yeah.
take it back. Let me just, if I can do one more tablet thing, because you know,
Sure.
Jim,
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I love a good Venn diagram, and I want to apologize for the Pokemon-esque colors of this one, since I just mentioned the kids' party. But you're wondering why we're even here. Like, her alleged sexual encounter that we're talking about is here. What about the falsified business records of why we're here? Well, the only thing that intersects here is one thing: intent, right? What was the intent when you're talking about the hush money trial? Excuse me, not this document. Hold on a second. We were talking about who's already been on the stand and thinking about what you actually need. Because what you have to prove is the intent to actually commit another crime here, the idea of the timing of here, the falsified business entries here as to why. She's only on the stand to suggest, not whether or not she actually had sex with Donald Trump. It doesn't even matter if she did. To this jury, what matters, it should matter to the jury, is whether he thought she would expose that allegation before the actual election. And she says, look, pretty sure this is hyperbole. If somebody is going to call me a toilet, I can say I'm going to flush somebody. So she's going right back addressing the fact that she was no shrinking violet when it came to Donald Trump. I can only imagine right now what Donald Trump is doing in the courtroom is he's slapping the elbows of attorneys saying to do more. And she says, pushing on the tweet, Nicholas says, you don't want to admit you meant President Trump. It's obvious she's talking about President Trump, but again, how does it help her case, Nia?
Yeah, it does. It does not. Absolutely. I meant Mr.
Right.
Trump.
Yeah.
She's not afraid
she's
of
like,
these
okay, this is-
lawyers.
of course.
I mean, and listen, to the extent that Donald Trump is upset with anybody, he should be upset with these terrible lawyers. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I mean, Laura. I mean, how do you think these lawyers are doing? How do you grade them?
I mean, they're not, he's not paying me the money. So they're billing probably what he wants. But at the same token, their job is to try to undermine her credibility. And they're hoping that just one juror will find this person to be somebody that they do not like, respect, therefore do not believe, and want to elevate Trump to an acquittal.
Kind of
I mean,
losing
Todd
the
Blanchard's
plot,
no
yeah.
slouch
No.
as lawyer either. So.
Yeah.